Our special guest this month is someone we're truly honored to welcome for the first time to the Central Florida Freethought community. Representative Johanna López serves District 43 in the Florida House of Representatives, representing part of Orange County and the Orlando community she has called home for decades. She was first elected to the Florida House in 2022 and now serves as a minority deputy whip as well as Democratic ranking member on the Criminal Justice Subcommittee. Before going to Tallahassee, Representative López served on the Orange County School Board from 2018 to 2022, where she was the first Latina elected to that board. Born in Puerto Rico, she moved to Florida in 1998 and built a career rooted in education, public service, civil engagement, and advocacy. Her work has been recognized by educators, social workers, community organizations, and civic leaders alike. But what stands out most is that Representative López has consistently shown up for students, families, immigrants, working families, and communities whose voices are too often treated as optional in rooms where decisions are made. So this afternoon, we are grateful to hear from a leader who brings experience from the classroom, the school board, and the state legislature. Please help me welcome Johanna to the CFFC.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here during this afternoon. My District A, Miguel Bermudez, is passing around the bills that I passed in 4 years. I passed 8 bills. 2 of them have been vetoed by the governor, but we're going to speak about that, and also the services that we provided in our office. People, when people talk about my story, they always talk about my achievements and about being an elected official, but in reality, my story is about being here in Orlando, moved to Orlando, feeling afraid of my language. I was very conscious about my language because I was acquiring the English language. So even though I have a master's degree, I started working at the airport, at the MCO in a car wash. And then after that, I work in a fast food restaurant because I really want to learn the language and be able to communicate better. So all the challenges that I was facing when I came here, linguistically speaking, when I became a teacher, I saw the same struggle with my students, but they feel related to my story because I always share, I study, but I did this, I did that, and I always talk about my mom. My mom only have a 6th grade education, and she always told me, I don't want you to clean houses for a living. This is what I'm doing since I was 10 years old. I want you to study. I want you to go to the university, get an education, and get out from the project. So I grew up in a project in Puerto Rico, and that mother was the one who provided me the example of being engaged in politics. So people from Puerto Rico, governors, candidates for governor, legislators, mayors, knock on that door in the project because they want to meet Doña Pura was her nickname, and because she know the project, she know the community respected her, and I never talk about me being an elected official here, but my students, majority immigrants, they told me we want somebody that become a school board member and voice what we are facing here in Orange County Public Schools. And after 150 years of having a school board in Orange County Public School, I was the first Latina, so immigration for me was a big deal because all of those students knock on doors. They did not have the right to vote, but they allowed me to win that seat by 40,000 votes, when usually that seat won by 9,000 and 12,000. So they did the work, they knocked on doors, they spoke to constituents, and half of them didn't even speak English. But you know what? Right now I can tell you that the majority of them are American citizens and graduated from different universities, from UCF, from Rollins, from UF, from FSU, even from Princeton and Oxford University. So I think that it is extremely important for me to share that information because most of the time we don't share our story, and that's the way that we can make other people feel related so they can also run, because running for office is not easy. And this is about democracy. So I highly appreciate the opportunity that you're giving to me to be here today. So we're gonna start. I don't know if we have any type of structure in the meeting, but let's start with the flyer and the bills that I passed. Obviously, as you know, we are in the state of Florida. We are majority Republicans at the State House and in the Senate. So in order for us to pass bills, we have to build relationships. And there's no negotiable for us, As a Democrat, they know what are my non-negotiable, And my non-negotiable is women's rights, is respect my LGBTQIA plus community. So they know how I think, so they know, how to negotiate when we are trying to pass bills. But passing bills is a challenge. It's very, very challenging. We have to build relationships since the first day, and we don't have a school that they're explaining to us, this is the way you're supposed to draft a bill or pass a bill or connect with people or try. So I learned how to have uncomfortable conversations in a very professional way and in a very friendly way. Sometimes it's hard. It's not easy. That's why we have the debates during sessions. So if you have any type of question about the bills, I feel free to raise your hand because we have somebody that is going to help us. But just in 265, that bill for me is extremely important because for the GED in the state of Florida, they have to take classes, they have to pay for that, so they need to take a pre-GED, then the classes, then the GED. It was a process. And we decided that if you want to take the GED, just take the GED. Pay for the GED and just, be successful, go to the university. And that's why we created that bill and passed. So that was my first year as a legislator. And remember, when I was running for this seat, people told me, what are you gonna do there? Stayed in the school board. You're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna achieve anything. And did not encourage me enough. But I said, you know what? I have to try. I have to do it. And this bill, was with another candidate that is a Republican candidate. So we do it as a prime co-sponsor. And when Representative Plasencia approached me, she said, "Listen, I need your help with Orange County Public School. You're a former school board member. Can you please talk to them?" So you talk to the Democrats and I talk to the Republicans. And we can work together so we can pass that bill, and that's the way that bill passed. So passing the Senate and on both. And I want to talk about the immigrants bill. I think that after 20 years, people told me that bill is not going to pass. That's about immigrants. Are you crazy? This is in the worst moment, and you're running a bill pro-immigrants. You're not going to pass that bill. So I spoke. I have a great team that, let me tell you, without my team, it's going to be also impossible. So I went with my legislative aide and spoke to the first committee that we knew are going to take care of the bill. And we talk about the language, and I said, listen, I think that we need this bill, because the problem that we were facing in Florida is that our immigrants were hiring people that are not experts in immigration. So because notario is not the same in Spanish. When we speak about notario is a person that can represent cases in hearings. But here in the state of Florida, notary is not the same thing of notario. And that's the problem that our immigrants were facing, because they were hiring notarios that they're not allowed to represent them in their cases. So we have a lot of deported immigrants because of that situation, paying thousands of dollars to people that are not allowed to do that. So the bill, we changed the title of the bill, and instead of saying notary fraud, we changed the bill, and it's advertisement for representation, and changed the whole terminology, and it was, based on those constant conversation with the policy chair on that committee, and I highly appreciate the fact that we have support on both parties, because the reality is that we need to be fair. Our immigrants can hire a lawyer, number one, and if they're paying $5,000 to a notary, they can pay the same amount of money to a lawyer. So now, under this bill, our immigrants can sue people that try to lie to them and try to represent them when they don't have the right to do it under the law. So they can sue, they can pay the legal fees, so they can be represented during the hearings. So I think that's a great deal, and I was scared till the last moment. I think, oh my God, DeSantis is not gonna sign that bill. But at the end, wow, he signed the bill. So I feel very proud. I did it with Representative Woodson, and I think that for me is one of my, I'm leaving because I'm running for another seat. But at this point, I feel very proud about this bill, because our immigrants are suffering a lot. So we have bills. I passed bills in business, for foster families. If you have any type of questions on all of these bills, but for example, one of the bills that are very, very known is the welfare bill. That is the bill HB 559. You have it over there, the animal welfare. So protects our children from exposure when people are trying to abuse animals. Everything related to animals at front of a minor, now that person is gonna be in jail, okay? That person is gonna be in a list, and that person is gonna be in huge trouble. But the most important portion of this bill is that minors that are exposed to that type of abuse with animals can also receive mental health support. So for me, I think that it's a great bill. It's a comprehensive bill. We do it as well in a bipartisan way. So I did it with Senator Arrington in the Senate side, and with Representative Cheney during this year. Sometimes when I see a representative that are known to fight for certain issues, I approach that person, because for me, it's not about party affiliation, it's more about passing that bill and being effective. So I speak with the person. I said, I have this bill for 2 years, and I know that with you, we can pass that bill. Can you allow me to be your prime co-sponsor, And everything is under, behind the scenes, and the person, Cheney, I agree with that, and that's why we passed that bill as well. I think that it's a great bill. So if you have any questions, you can ask me during the conversation. So on the back is the assigned committees that I have in Tallahassee since I started in 2022. Right now, I'm the criminal justice ranking member, but I was also a member in judiciary, information technology budget, pre-K through 12 budget, student academic success, select committee of congressional redistricting. That's one that we're gonna speak about it, because we only have in that committee, we was appointed by the speaker. It's not recommended by our leader. Infrastructure Strategies Committee, Agriculture and Natural Resources, Constitutional Rights, Rule of Law, Civil Justice, and Select Committee on Health Innovation. So those are all the committees that I belong. And I know that we have a lot of questions about the redistricting, and with the redistricting, to be honest with you, they sent us a survey. Do you want to be part of the redistricting committee? Yes, no, not sure. And guess what I answered? Yes. I said not sure, and I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, I'm against of the redistricting. This is not the time for the redistricting. But I said, if I say no, my constituents can be disappointed. because they want me to be there, because they know that I believe like them, that we don't want the redistricting. But if I say yes, some people can use that against me. So you're in favor of the redistricting. So as a politician, to a certain extent, I say, you know what? I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to put not sure and see what happens. And they chose me. So it's like, okay, so now I'm here. So now I can ask the questions. So, I receive a lot of, people congratulating me because of the hard questions that I made during the committee. So sad that we only have one person going there to explain. This is, only one map from the governor's office. It wasn't nothing from us, nothing from the members. Only one person was trying to explain the questions that we were trying to ask, but we cannot ask any questions about our communities paying money, this is taxpayer money. So can you please explain how much money is gonna cost to do this? They couldn't answer that. Can you please explain to us who gave the governor the power to create the map when supposed to be created by the House and the Senate, No answer for that. So there is no answer for most of our questions, sadly. I think that we try our best. I think, none of our Republican members ask any question at all. I think that this is just a decision that the governor made and just imposed to us. So now we're waiting to see what is going to happen, because obviously he's going to be sued. This is something that nobody wanted. And the sad part on this redistricting is the numbers. We have an amendment, 2010 Fair Districts Amendment, that 63% of our people voted in favor of that. And they did not respect the 63% of voters who voted in favor of that amendment to protect our districts. So I think that is a lack of respect to our constituents. And also, we have more than 19 counties divided. It's something that we never, expected. We have, I'm trying to look for, I have notes here because I want to show you the specific number. So if you see, this map breaks the rules. It splits 19 counties up from 17 and 30 cities up from 16. Hillsborough is sliced 4 ways. Only 5 of 28 districts are unchanged. The governor's own lawyer admitted on the record that race was never considered a violation in plain sight. Republicans are 41% of registered voters, but this map gives them 85%. So it's 24 out of 28.
You need more of a supermajority?
So it's gerrymandering, obviously, yes. And I think that even, I received more than 2,457 emails, Republicans, non-affiliated, and Democrats against of redistricting. So this is not about parties at this point, even though we know that he do it purposely on that way, but nobody wanted, nobody. So this is something that, people, we have to watch. We have to watch to see what is going to happen in the future with that. So I think that I want to go to questions because if not, I can be here until 3, so we have 10 minutes. We have enough time to, yes.
I have one, and I just wanted to clarify, because I heard a comment from the audience about the supermajority. So, of course, there's a supermajority in Congress, but this is not for the State House, this is not for the State Senate, this is actually your Congress people, not your U.S. senators, because those are statewide, but these would be the Congress persons that are already running right now.
Yes.
So I'm curious if you had people that you know, in your caucus or elsewhere that are running for Congress. How do they perceive this as far as their campaigns? Isn't this going to change who can campaign where? Or are they planning on just campaigning out of district?
They have to campaign out of district, yes. For example, Darren Soto, he's going to be affected, obviously, during this redistricting, and we already know that another Republican rep are going to be running for that seat in Congress. But he's going to knock on doors, and he's going to do his job and invest in, on those new districts. What concerned me, I heard that in Virginia, they have to delay the elections because of the redistricting. If something like that happened here because of this process in court is happening at the same time, this is gonna be a chaos. I don't know how they gonna deal with this. So that's why I'm saying, right now we are kind of on pause and watching to see the results during hearings to see what happened.
Thank you. Thanks very much. One of the greatest travesties I've seen in my life is the way we're treating immigrants. And I noticed on here you say the HB 915 protects immigrant families from scams and legal fraud. Can you give us a couple of examples?
Yes. So, for example, notario, that most of the time people try to translate notary as a notario when it's not the same thing. Notarios in Latino countries, they are almost lawyers. They study the same thing. So they can represent people in the Latino countries because the majority of the immigrants that are having this type of harassment are Latinos, the majority of them. We have Mexican, Venezuelan, So what's happening is that they are paying money to certain people, and these people say, no, I cannot do that job anymore. You have to hire another lawyer because I cannot do that. Yes, because since the beginning, that person knew that he cannot represent him or her, but they took the money away from them. So now this bill is also the bill also describes how to market if you have a notary office or you have immigration consultant office. So the law is saying you have to put warnings in the second language that you serve the most. Imagine if you're a notary or notario from your country, maybe you can do other things, not immigration consultant, not anything related, it's just the ID and whatever, but they have to put warnings in the website, warnings in the office, in Spanish and in English. So it's more specific in terms of advertisement. And also, the immigrant can look for a lawyer to sue that notary or that office that allow to make business with that client. So now it's kind of the same situation with car. You find the lawyer and you say, this person, I was hit by a car, so can you represent me? So they can find a lawyer, say this person, lied to me or do something illegal, please represent me. And with this person, you take the person and you deal with that. So they can sue for the money that they need to be represented. It's not only, so now that money, you can use it to be represented with a lawyer, a real lawyer, under the law.
Hi, I see that you're on the pre-K-12 budget for schools. So last July, there was a line item passed in the budget that was not voted on that made it so private schools and charter schools could occupy spaces in open public schools, which would mean that if there's empty classrooms at a public school, private schools can come in and we have to pay for their lights. We have to provide them all the same resources as our students, but they get a lot more per student. They get $12,000 per student, we get $8,000 per student. So they are operating their schools without certified teachers, without any checks and balances, and they also do it with zero out the door. So what's happening at open house night, the parents will walk down down the hallway of the school, and one side's private school and one side's public school, even though we're paying for everything. So they look in the public school classrooms and the teachers have 35 kids, and we have, decorations we made ourselves, and we have whatever books we have. And then on the other side, because they are given the same books, they are given the same laptops, they are given all the same things, they see all this crazy, wonderful technology. There's 12 kids in the class, and a lot of the parents are jumping ship, and it's creating a huge crisis in education. But here's my question. That was added as a line item, but it wasn't voted on. Where's the check or balance for that? Because we were told there's nothing we can do about it. It passed in the budget, and we were pretty much told to suck it up and work around it. So what can we do?
That's a great question. When a charter can get into the school still. That's why when we see all of these schools that have been closed in Orange County, isn't a way of strategize to not allow that to happen. So if they, instead of having 50% of the population on that school, let's put that 50% in this other school so we can have full, 100% of the population, and then leave this space empty so we can rent it, or we can rent it even to a charter school, or any type of other business that are interested in having that, that space. But on that way, the only way that we can fight against all of these things is having meetings, being organized. Emails works, calls works, but the how we organize and mobilize needs to be constant. We cannot fight for a bill after the bill passed or when the bill is on the floor. It's already passed all of the committees. Sometimes, I said this bill can pass, but people are not in the computer looking for all the bills that have been filing, They just go and protest after the second committee, because it's when the news is talking about that. And sometimes they didn't even realize that the bills is on the committees. They just start fighting when it's on the floor, too late on the floor, because we're minority. And the majority believe, obviously, in all of this, step-up programs and I'm not going to criticize certain things. We have to see the strength and the weaknesses in so many ways, because as a mother, if I have a student that works better in a setting in my house, with virtual school, I have to respect that. If maybe I'm better in homeschooling because maybe I'm a teacher, stay-home teacher, and I know what I'm doing, and I feel better like that because whatever situation, mentally speaking, my son is having, maybe it's better for him. Maybe I was listening to this situation that is happening in the schools, that we have a student that, is atheist and he's not respected, So maybe for that parent, it's better to have him in another space while he's, still fighting. Everybody's different, we have different spectrum of autism, different, there's so many cases that I can speak, and I think that we don't have enough time, but I would love to have more time to speak about it, but yes.
We have time for one more question. Was there another hand, or? Okay. No, I just want to make sure there wasn't anybody else.
I think part of the concern is that it wasn't a bill, it was a line item that was added.
Yeah, the appropriation. The problem is the appropriation most of the times go with the bill, attached to a bill. So I think that portion was a bill that was giving the opportunity to the whole schools to get into the public school and share the same space. But the bill, the bill passed, but the allocation was approved. So what happened with the bill? The bill died.
So a lot of for fuss also comes not from the availability, trying to solution the lack of accountabilities in private schools and in the public school. Like that for the whole
teachers in public schools have to go through a lot of different things. And what's happening is students are graduating in schools that are later not accredited, and they can't go to college. So I think there's a lot of concern in a lot of these.
Accountability is a challenge, and thank you so much for saying that. I agree with you 100%. I remember this bill from Travolsi is an education bill, and in the bill says that private schools that have ESC students, they need to be accountable. We have to see if they're following up with the individual education for that student, IEP, because it wasn't fair. They wasn't receiving this money, our taxpayer money, and then we put it in a private school that are not following up with all of the needs of that ESC student and ended in failing or maybe passing and not able to function because maybe they passed the students to avoid problems or situations, but did not teach the way it's supposed to be, taught. So that's a great conversation there, and that's why we have to be constantly speaking with our legislators to create more piece of laws or repealing statutes that are against our students. I tried to pass a bill against corporate punishment, and it was so hard for me to find sponsors. And I'm here saying, so do you agree with corporate punishment in 2026? Come on, what is happening? And for me, I thought at that moment that it was an easy bill to pass. I have a lot of people across the nation. We have calls, emails, and I even try to say, listen, so let's do the corporate punishment only for ESC students. And not even for that. Not even for that. We have more than 598 cases in the state of Florida that were victims of corporate punishment justified by the school system. And for me, unacceptable, because we can put parents in jail even for smacking the children. So how come somebody is going to come and smack my son or my daughter? So that's another conversation there.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you.